Yes. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to episode number 2 of Get On This Shashtagged. See what I did there? No, Get On This Shit. Welcome. Episode 2. Here we go. What you just listened to was Earl by Bad Not Good. It's a Canadian group. They were formed in 2010, and I looked them up, do a little research because I'm a pro, and the genres that they are listed under go as follows. First of all, instrumental hip hop, makes sense. Jazz funk, free improvisation, electronica, jazz fusion, and my personal favorite, post bop. Post bop. That sounds like someone who had surgery to remove their ability to dance. But all I can say is yes to all the above. They are a very they blend a lot of different genres, which is what I love in music nowadays. And they are best known for doing reinterpretations or covers of popular hip hop tracks. My personal favorite out of all of those is probably Flashing Lights by Kanye. They do an incredible reimagining of that. Everything they do is just like, you can't it is an homage to the songs, the original songs, but they are complete kind of like their own works, and they stand alone because they're just so good at their own sound. I also would say it's the closest thing to real jazz that I can tolerate, because real jazz kind of makes me go crazy after a while, but this band has enough other instruments to really like round it out. Honestly, like, I love their music. I find it's beautiful. At times it's transcendent, at times it's very concerning, but it's always compelling. I find they're kind of like the perfect group to listen to if you need to sort things out in your head, and like, say for example that every stressor in your life is like a Beyblade. Now, if you don't get the reference to Beyblades, then I guess you weren't my age and a boy growing up. I'm sure there were some girl Beyblade fans out there too, but basically they were like tops that would battle each other. And imagine that thing that's stressful in your life is a Beyblade. And listening to this music is like putting all those Beyblades in a bowl. So they all just kind of like, the cacophony of the clashing, but at the same time harmonious instruments is like, it's like a dog shaking all the water off of itself. It's like chaotic but efficient at the same time. Pretty proud of that analogy. One of my favorite songs by them is called Kaleidoscope. It's about 7 minutes long, and I find 7 minutes is kind of like the borderline of like, there are two types of people in this world. There's people that can appreciate songs that are 7 minutes or longer, and then there are other people who are like, how long is this song? At around like the 5-minute mark of a song. I remember one time I played a 12-minute long song with my friends in a car. And by the end of it, one was like, wow, what a musical journey. I don't know if he enjoyed it or not. But that was actually a 6-minute song that got stretched to 12 minutes. And maybe I'll play that as the opener next time. But not all 12 minutes. So yeah, my show, I guess I was kind of vague on my first episode about what the show is going to be about. The ratings came back. They weren't great. And the TV execs or the YouTube execs have a lot of notes for me. They said I was low energy, and that I was vague, and that I was rambling. So a little more pep today, a little more energy. I got my tea going here. I got a new chair. It swivels. I'm swiveling right now. And with the vagueness, let me define the show a little bit better. It's called Get In On This Shit for 2 reasons. The first one is because I am a consumer above all things. I'm a human parasite, and I love to consume all content, music, comedy, TV, lifestyle, so everything. And what I want to do is just kind of highlight the things that I think are particularly awesome in those realms, and kind of explain why. It's also called Get On This Shit because I'm also going to share kind of a series of personal observations about life, and try to make sense of them in my little kind of confessional, or my own personal therapy chamber, if you will. Yesterday, last podcast I was talking a little bit about absurdist humor, but I was just kind of, like I said, rambling, and I wasn't really being specific, so I want to kind of revisit that a little bit. Tim and Eric is a comedy duo that I mentioned last time, and I said they were masters of satire, but they're actually masters of parody. So there is a difference between parody and satire. Parody is the use and then exaggeration of conventional genres or styles to invoke humor. So one example, when I looked this up on the interwebs, was the answer. An example for that was Scary Movie, the Scary Movie franchise. Now, if you want to watch something that's funnier than that, you should check out, and I'm going to link it in the bottom the video description, but you should check out a sketch called Beers on YouTube. It's by SNL, and it's part of a series of recurring sketches which take the conventions of kind of corny 80s, 90s sitcoms, and then they make fun of them by exaggerating them or making them ridiculous or absurd, if you will. So an example of this would be the establishing shots that you sometimes see in these sitcoms, where they show the outside of the house or the building, and in this case in the video they start with like a normal thing like a house, but then they show like increasingly things that don't make sense with the story. So there's like a person on a skidoo, or there's like, it's like in the safari or something. And then the last one is just like a dinosaur. So it doesn't really it takes the same conventions that you're used to seeing, but then they make it something ridiculous. So that's kind of what parody is. And the goal with parody is always just to get the maximum amount of laughs possible. Now, satire, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny satire, because the goal, at least the primary goal, is not to get laughs. The goal with satire, when it's done right, is to point out the flaws and shortcomings of a specific person, or more often of a system created by society. Now, an example that kind of illustrates that is an example of brilliant and at the same time funny satire is Office Space, the movie. This movie came out, I think, in the 90s, and it manages to point out every aspect of working in an office that is annoying, tedious, or depressing. Now, I know most of you are probably more familiar with the TV show The Office, but this is kind of like the original, the OG, if you will. And the fact that the truths are packaged in humor makes it both entertaining and digestible. It makes it energestible. There you go, coining new terminology on this podcast. If you want an example of humorless satire, there's the TV show House of Cards, which takes the setting of the White House and the politics and all that. So it takes the real life setting, but then all the characters are fictional, and the characters are kind of evil, conniving, scheming. So the whole story is kind of meant to show that the system that we have is very broken and is very corrupt. So satire versus parody, that's kind of the difference. And Tim and Eric is like the best mix of both parody and absurdist humor. A really good example of this is the sketch Not Jackie Chan. If you want to check it out, once again, I'll put it in the description. So the sketch idea is it's a commercial for a board game, But the board game is called Not Jackie Chan, so it's a ridiculous premise for a board game already. It's the goal of the game is to name things that aren't Jackie Chan. And then they have an example, and it's like, okay, the category is arts and entertainment, and it's not Jackie Chan. And then the girlfriend wife is like trying to help out, and she's like, the guy from Cheers? And first of all, it's like, why would you suggest that? And then the husband is like, oh, Kelsey Grammer. So this guy, he names an actor that's not even from the TV show Cheers. It's from Frasier. And then the person who asked the question is like, it's not even close. It's Edgar Allan Poe. So it's like there was no clue to that question. There's no way that there's like a million possible answers. There's no way they were gonna get it right. And then later on, there's like the speed round, so you have to name 10 things that aren't Jackie Chan. And so the guy's like, desk, pickle, shoelace, and then he's like, Jackie Chan. Oh, he slipped up. And then then the guy who's asking the question is like, wrong, and then he slams a buzzer. And the buzzer is like ridiculously loud to the point where it's hurting everyone else when he's buzzing it. But it's, for some reason, it's not hurting him, and then it just slowly, his head is just turning towards the camera, and he's just staring at you. So the sketch starts off kind of with the parody setup, but then it just becomes more and more ridiculous. So once again, like, parody is all about kind of taking an already established premise and then exaggerating the hell out of it to try to get laughs. One of my favorite series by Tim Heidecker, who's like kind of the mastermind, like I said, behind Tim and Eric, is called On Cinema at the Cinema, and it takes it's their best and longest parody. They've gone on for like 11 seasons now, and it basically lampoons like movie review shows. So they don't really have movie review shows anymore. But it used to be like Siskel and Ebert were like a really popular duo, and they would be known for doing either like a thumbs up or thumbs down. In this show, instead of thumbs up, thumbs down, they have bags of popcorn, and it's out of 5. So normally it's gold stars, but in this show it's bags of popcorn. That's their rating system. But the ridiculous thing is that they always give every single movie 5 bags. So it's like, they're supposed to be critics, but they're not critiquing anything. They're not providing any insight. It's so ridiculous. And then they'll always add like bonus things, like a cup of soda or like a little like keychain or something. So it's like, what does this rating system even mean? And the characters are great because Tim, he's just like an egomaniac, and he's just like someone who thinks he's great but is really like an idiot. So kind of like in the same vein as Michael Scott. And the way he gives his reviews, it makes it sound like he didn't even see the movies. Like, he just makes very general comments based off of the title. And another great thing that he does is he mispronounces pretty much like every actor's name. Like, he's dyslexic. And the other guy, Greg, he's supposed to be the like expert of the show, but he always makes like outdated and illogical references and comparisons to other movies and actors. Yeah, so like I said, Tim's like always completely unprofessional in the show. Like, he's always integrating his personal life into it somehow, the most like intimate details of his personal life. And he's also very gullible and easily influenced. So he's always like 100% buying into these like scams and kind of snake oil salesmen. And it always leads to him like getting sick or injured or something, or losing his money. And and he also has these side projects that he keeps doing. So first he does a movie series called Decker, which is like making fun of Mission Impossible and all those kind of movies, or like 24. And then he starts a band called Dakar. So his name is Tim Heidecker, so it's a play off of his last name, but it's just like making fun of like lame rock bands from like the late 2010s, and like, you know, he's wearing all black and he's got like bandanas and like eyeliner, and he makes this song called Empty Bottle that's just like ridiculous. Like, it's such a funny kind of non-song, and you can look them up on YouTube. And then as the storyline progresses, he changes his group from Dakar to DKR, so he becomes like an EDM group, and then he ends up just remixing the same song. and the storylines always get like ridiculously crazy. Once again, absurdist humor. I don't want to give too much away, but like, he does end up kind of he ends up in a trial for murdering 20 kids at a electronic music festival because he gives them poison vapes, which, looking back now, is actually like he visionary. Like, he saw that one coming. I wonder if you guys vape. I don't vape, but apparently they outlawed Juuls in Quebec, so they're no longer going to be selling those. And the best part of the On Cinema show is the Oscar special that they have at the end of each season, and Tim always gets super plastered, even though he like says basically at the beginning that he's not going to get drunk. And there's always these random screenshots of just like actors and characters from other movies, just randomly placed, and the timing of those are just they make me crack up so much. Gotta grab a drink here. Oh, that's good. I'm having tea. If you guys don't have tea, you should get on that shit. It's less caffeine. It's a really good way to jazz up your water if you're trying to get those 8 glasses a day. And they have lots of herbal, kind of medicinal healing benefits. And they're great because you can have them for different occasions. So if you need something, if you need energy, or if you need to relax, if you need to digest, if you have a sore throat, there's a different tea for every occasion. What I'm drinking today is peach, ginger, a little bit of honey. No, I'm not sponsored by tea. Once again, Uber Eats or any kind of tea companies, if you're listening, hook it up. Call my agent. And I have a few taglines here for tea. Tea, it's not just for old people anymore. And there's another one here. Tea, the thinking man's coffee. The other day I was cleaning out my car because it was disgusting, and I realized something is that I really take a lot of joy in mundane tasks, like anything where I can turn off my brain and it's a task that I just have to do repetitively. I love that. I don't know why, but like mowing the lawn, folding laundry, shoveling, driving, any kind of task that requires maybe like 10% of your attention, I love it. They're great tasks to just kind of like listen to music or a podcast to. And I think I seriously think the joy that I take in mundane tasks makes me think I'm like a secret spectrum boy or something, just on the fringe of the spectrum. But I think part of it is visible results, you know, like I have a pretty big lawn, so it takes about an hour to mow, and then at the end of the mowing sesh, you know, it's a nice fresh cut grass. Feels like you actually did something in the day. I think that's why working out, I've always enjoyed working out, because it's just like you see results pretty much right away. So I guess that's one of my faults, is like I can't delayed gratification, kind of like working towards something but not seeing the results right away. Let me know if you're with me on that one. But another thing I was thinking about when I was cleaning the car was because I took off these like Febreze air vent fresheners things, is that if you have those, basically you're just telling people that get in your car that you're too lazy to actually clean your car. It's not like if your car has a scent, then you should clean your car, and then way you won't have the scent. It's basically just a scent masker. I think the only good reason to have those are if you have drugs in your car, trying to mask that scent, or if there's a dead body in your trunk. Only two reasons. But like I said, I like listening to music or podcasts when I'm mowing the lawn or shoveling. One of my favorite podcasts is WTF, What the Fuck podcast with Mark Maron. He's a comedian. And the one I was listening to the other day was with Amy Schumer, who's another comedian. And I think Amy Schumer got a lot of hate in retrospect that not largely undeserved. I think, first of all, I have respect for all comedians. It takes balls to just get up in front of a crowd. But I have a special respect for women comedians because they get so much hate on the internet. And there's such a huge double standard in comedy. Like, I think that's the reason a lot of female comedians go the route that's like alternative or quirky, or they play dumb, because it's just easier to get by or build a career. And I think she's the first female comedian to like truly own kind of sexuality and promiscuity. And I think that's, if I'm going to define feminism, I think feminism is freeing women from kind of antiquated double standards. And that's definitely like one of the big barriers is in comedy, because they can't say the same jokes and get away with it. Instead, they're called sluts or whores or whatever. Like, she gets a lot of hate. They call her, slut, fat pig, disgusting, those kind of things. So I just want to say, like, yes, she did get in trouble for the whole joke stealing thing, but still, I want to give her credit because she didn't exactly shatter a glass ceiling. It's more like she was breaking through a cum web, if you will. Very eloquent on this podcast. Speaking of cum, great segue. One thing I realized when I was looking at music the other day is that if you type in any combination of like chill, house, relax, EDM, or like any season, like summer vibes, chill, or whatever, the thumbnail is almost always going to be like a hot girl wearing a bikini or something. Like, some even have videos I've noticed. Like, it's just a girl jumping around in like a nice big house and she's wearing nothing. And the production quality on these is amazing. It's like really, like, it's slow-mo, it's HD. Like, if I was in high school, I think that would be a good workaround if you you can't watch porn on high school, so that's probably the closest thing. So, like, yeah, that was just something funny I noticed. It was just EDM house mixes on YouTube. They really go for that clickbait. What else? I think that's pretty much it for today, for this week, in terms of recommendations and different things on my mind. Oh yeah, I have a job interview tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know how that goes next week. And yeah, let me know if you end up listening to any of that music or watching any of the shows. Let me know if you enjoy it. And we'll be back next week with more recommendations. Anyways, thanks for listening.